is the case study presentation of the U.S. airline industry by Ashley Tuttle. The airline industry grew massively in the U.S. in 1914. The first airline regulation that happened was in 1925. It was known as the 1925 Air Mail Act, or the Kelly Act. And then in 1926, we had the Air Commerce Act. And that just made additional regulatory effects. It structured federal aircraft, airmen, navigation equipment, air traffic, and implemented some more laws. It also ensured that aircraft be regularly inspected and that they also display identifying markings just for extra safety. In the 1990s, investor Warren Buffett said investors in the aviation sector would have been more lucky if the Wright brothers had collapsed at Kitty Hawk. The highly regulated and controlled airline industry was released from public supervision and released into market vagaries. So the point made by Buffett was that the airline sector had lost more cash than it had made. It was always a proposal that was economically lost. When he took a stake in U.S. Airways, Buffett once made the error of investing in the sector. He was compelled to write off 75% of the value of that investment a few years later. The 2000s were not in the industry's infancy. Between 2001 and 2006, the aviation sector lost $35 billion. In 2006 and 2007, it managed to gain meager revenues, but lost $24 million in 2008 as prices of oil and jet fuel rose throughout the year. So in 2008, Delta and Northwest merged, and then in 2010, United and Continental merged, and Southwest Airlines announced plans to acquire AirTran. Airways pushed for a merger contract with American Airlines in early 2013. So the driving forces behind these mergers include the desire to decrease excess capacity by eliminating duplication and lowering expenses. They could result in a more stable pricing setting in the sector and greater profit rates to the extent that they are effective. That continues to be seen, though. So this is the competitive forces analysis. The threat of new entrants is comparatively small due to the heavy investment required to become an airline company. Barriers to new entries and exiting entries is low traffic level due to 9/11, and this is just one situation. The airline industry basically has two main suppliers, Boeing and Airbus, for parts and repairs. The bargaining power is mild in the airline industry due to the industry's restricted nature. Air transport continues to be the fastest and most convenient means of transportation, but most customers are looking for the cheapest tickets to choose from. There could be rivalry if a business sets customers cheaper rates because they would change. The fixed expenses in this sector are exceptionally high. This makes it difficult to leave the sector because in order to remain in company, they are likely to be long-term credit contracts. The U.S. airline industry has strategic groups. Maybe they're American, Delta, and United. They are the industry's giants. They also provide basic utilities apart from flight service, which differentiate costs for the availability of their services. Because they have to use their earnings differently, strategies vary between bigger businesses and smaller businesses. Competition differs due to these vast variations in business strategies. There was a high level of rivalry between the larger firms before the new entrants became part of the sector. However, once the smaller firms joined the sector, the competition expanded to include not only other large firms, but also smaller firms. The sources of competitive advantage for Southwest Airlines Company were evaluated in terms of company-specific strengths, weaknesses, and competitive benefits. The economic performance of the airline industry was very cyclical. This is the case because of the industry's nature and its economic connection. The industry relies on those with more disposable industries, which means that the airline industry will be well when the economy is doing well. The airline industry's financial performance appears to be very deflationary. We do see some capacity growth, but the industry's performance has always been impacted by the economic threats. If we analyze the circumstances that have occurred in the past, such as recession or global financial crisis, we understand that these impacts were high for this sector, as the profit generation during this era was lower. If the U.S. airline industry wants to increase their chances of being persistently profitable, I think they should take a look at the following strategies. The first one is that fare may differ depending on how they use the service. For instance, customers whose frequency to use the facilities is higher must pay less compared to the less frequent customers. Secondly, they need to market and encourage clients to specifically use flying as their mode of transport as well as their airline. They should also reduce ticket rates or give discounts, such as bundling various tickets together or hotels, and other airline ticket benefits. Finally, businesses could merge with one or more competitors, particularly new entrants, to give better rates and discounts. So guys, this is my presentation over the U.S. airline industry. Feel free to leave me some feedback. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody else's presentations as well. Thanks.